Astral Chain is certainly one of the more curious releases from Platinum Games in recent years. It still delivers on the spectacular, fast-paced action that the developer has become known for, but longtime Platinum fans might be put off by the game's main gimmick and how it alters the game's core combat. However, if you're able to push through and adjust to what Astral Chain brings to the table, you're in for an exciting and satisfying time. Astral Chain is set in a future where the Earth has suffered some sort of interdimensional crisis, and humanity survives on a megacity that floats in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, known as the Ark. Players control one of two Ark police officers who find themselves promoted to a special task force that bind and control interdimensional monsters known as chimeras, converting them into legions that fight alongside these anime super cops. The story on offer is weird and convoluted, but ultimately very entertaining. It has this anime-like quality to it, where all the characters are turned up to 11, and a lot of the dialogue consists of characters expositing constant sci-fi mumbo-jumbo with little to no explanation from the word go. The narrative is also rather predictable in places, but Astral Chain's likable cast of characters and its commitment to world building are certainly commendable. Beyond that, the story relies heavily on the sheer spectacle that Platinum always brings to their projects to keep things engaging. On that note, Astral Chain's overall presentation is flashy and over the top, with an anime-inspired art style that stands out thanks to its use of cell shading and energetic voice acting that keeps the game's occasionally rambling dialogue entertaining if nothing else. On the visual side of things, Astral Chain is vibrant and striking, from its aforementioned visual style to its fantastic use of different camera angles and slow motion when you pull off a powerful move in combat. It does come up a little bit short with regards to a handful of its enemy designs, which look like bland Power Rangers minions at their worst, but there are also far more interesting designs that you're bound to come up against. On the whole, however, the game is visually stylish, because it's Platinum, and style is their native language. Fittingly, Astral Chain's audio design is also stylish as hell, featuring a healthy mix of synth, orchestral, and good old-fashioned rock tracks, sometimes featuring all of the above at once. This high-intensity soundtrack perfectly fits with the fast-paced action that Astral Chain brings to the table, but even the game's downtime between missions gets some fantastic music. Seriously, Astral Chain's HQ theme may be my favorite non-vocal track in the game. But you're probably not playing Astral Chain to listen to its chill HQ theme, because the game is most impressive in its action sequences, not only in terms of presentation, but also in a mechanical sense. For fans of previous Platinum games, Astral Chain will seem fairly different from the outset, giving you 3 different weapons which serve as your light, heavy, and ranged attacks, as well as your Legion, which, well, the Legion is weird and entirely new. Basically, you have a variety of chained creatures that aid you in battle. These legions will automatically attack targeted enemies, or enemies within melee range of you if you don't have anyone targeted, and each one comes with their own combos and special moves which can be used in tandem with your own combos. For anyone familiar with the Platinum Transformers games, these tandem combos work almost like the vehicular attacks in that game. During certain combos, the game will stall for a moment and there will be a flash on your character signifying that you can initiate one of these super powerful attacks. It's quick, it's simple, and it feels great to pull these moves off regularly. On top of that, each Legion has their own assist mode. These offer you a range of techniques, such as a Metal Gear Rising style aimed slash, manually aimed ranged attacks, or even a fusion of your character and the Legion in one case. These gimmicks each add a layer of personality to their respective legions, and though the more manually operated techniques can be a bit fiddly in the middle of Astral Chain's quick combat, they do come with a focus button that lets you slow down the action. In addition to simply letting your Legion automatically attack enemies, or using them as tools in their assist modes, you can take a more hands-on approach, using the right analog stick while holding the left trigger to manually maneuver your Legion around the battlefield. This is useful for more than simply directing your Legion towards targets, however. You can use the chain that binds you to them in a number of ways, such as binding enemy creatures by looping the chain around them, or countering enemy charges by clotheslining them with the chain itself. It takes a lot of getting used to, but ultimately, once you wrap your head around how the Legions work, these new mechanics are super satisfying to use properly. You also have to keep your eye on your Legion's energy while they're active, as they will require longer to recharge if you let it run down to 0, effectively leaving your character on their own in combat, which is a bad thing, obviously. It is worth noting that this manual control is how Astral Chain handles platforming as well. You don't have a jump button, so crossing gaps is achieved by directing your floating Legion to your desired destination before zipping over to them. At best, this mechanic is a bit clunky, but at its worst I found myself losing more health to bottomless pits than to actual enemies, mainly because my character would constantly get caught on little bits of the environment before plummeting to their death. It was a constant source of frustration that stood out thanks to how enjoyable the rest of the game was. Legion-related elements and frustrations aside, Astral Chain functions about the same as any other Platinum game. There's a big focus on split-second dodging and precisely timed inputs, and this applies to your Legion as well as the character you directly control. You're also going to be ranked after certain battles or at the end of each chapter, but this is where I noticed a rather unusual change from the standard Platinum formula. Astral Chain is weirdly forgiving in comparison to games like Bayonetta and Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. In addition to not really penalizing you for using healing items, or even dying and restarting at a checkpoint, Astral Chain essentially gives you a handful of lives that are spent whenever you get knocked out and need to be revived. This is kind of fantastic, since not only does Astral Chain bring that classic Platinum challenge to the forefront, figuring out the intricacies of using your various legions can take some trial and error. This more forgiving approach lets you experiment and learn without fear of only getting D ranks for your entire playthrough. The other strange thing about Astral Chain is that it has a lot more non-combat stuff to do than most other Platinum games, and even action games in general. These range from quiz-style investigations, sliding block puzzles, and even balancing challenges, which regrettably use the Switch's motion controls. There's a ton of these smaller challenges to take on in each chapter, and most of them are fun, charming, or at the very least, an inoffensive break from the lightning-fast combat sequences. Between these side challenges and the ability to return to any previous file with your endgame upgrades, Astral Chain offers up a decent amount of content for those inclined to complete it all, even if it is a bit strange that the game doesn't offer up a traditional New Game Plus mode. With all that said, Astral Chain is excellent. I don't know that I'd call Astral Chain Platinum's best game, but it's certainly their most unique, with the Legion mechanics altering things just enough to set it apart from the rest of the pack without making it an entirely new thing. The action remains as fast and satisfying as you might expect from a Platinum game, and though the story will probably wind up exactly where you think it will after its opening chapters, it's still an entertaining ride. I would call this the latest in a long line of reasons to own a Switch, as well as the best reason to date.